Good evening and welcome to yet another stream of From Animation Pandemic. That is me, Amedeo Beretta, and today I'm going to do some gameplay animation, which I really need to do. I don't think I have much choice in there because the deadline is looming, so maybe it's better if we get down to it. So welcome aboard, anybody who has joined, and let's have a look. So let's move on to the task at hand. So you should be seeing the frog in here. A few weeks ago I was animating this frog for another these animations for another character. Sorry, that's what I meant to do. And the character was supposed to be an idle looking left and right. Then there was a variation with a croak, another one with a burp, and some other actions that I had to do. Now this animation needs to have a little bit of some additions, let's say, and these additions require the character to be bumped from beneath, so the character will be standing on a thin surface, and underneath the character there will be a force pushing, but not strong enough to dislodge the character. So I need to animate some sort of reaction to a bump from underneath, and then I will need to animate some sort of stunned animation of the character, you know, with the head maybe waving around. Very similar, I would say, to let me think, to Mortal Kombat's animations when the characters are waiting for a fatality. Let's see. Mortal Kombat. I would like to see the old animation from Mortal Kombat 1. There you go. So in the old Mortal Kombat,
Hola, amigo.
That's true for a lot of games. The characters stay there waiting to be destroyed. You see, they just wave there uncontrollably. Then there's a lot of blood, but that's Mortal Kombat for you. And I really need to add an animation like that one. And finally, I need to develop an animation for which the character jumps, is pushed away from its position, dislodged from its position, and in an uncontrolled way. So let's have a look and see how we can do that. By the way, this whole animation is animation that I'm doing for a video game called River Tales the Game, which I think it would be worth mentioning in here. So this is the game. If you want to know more, head over to this page. I'm pasting the link in the chat. It's quite interesting as a video game. I think it's fun anyway. I played the prototypes and I keep playing the prototypes as they come out. So this is something you want to maybe have a look at. And we have been shortlisted, it seems, for some sort of a word on Discord. So if we win the vote, there's going to be some word for us on a game dev Discord server, which is, I'm going to post the link again in the chat, so that if you find it an interesting project, you can also vote for it in here by following this link. I think it's a cool project anyway. So let's go back to our animation and let's do it. I'm going to first of all show all my curves, make sure that the animation mask is set to on in Maya so that I can only select controls, and save before it's too late and get started. Let's have a look at, we have a bunch of animation here at the end. In practice, I am opting to have a very long timeline with all the animations on it. I'm not sure it's a great idea. I have mixed feelings about this approach, but it worked so far. And I need this pose at the beginning of the timeline here. There you go. Oh, where's the frog gone? That's not good. Let me find AB frog. Let me save this pose, or rather, let me save the first pose of the timeline. I need to start from the pose of the idol, the main pose of the idol. So this one is no good. So I'm going to store it, and then I'm going to recall it. There you go. We're back. Nice. So we can start from there. Please notice that before approaching the animation, I actually was looking at the schedule. I have some sort of list in here of the animations that I need to do. It's in Italian, but it could be good. It's good anyway for me. And in here I've highlighted in red some of the animations that I need to do tonight. So I will maybe start with the bumped animation. The character gets bumped, but it doesn't really move around too much. So let's have a look at what we can do in here. So maybe I will start by creating the force that comes from underneath, just to have some point of reference. So in the game, the character will be sitting on the floor, but then this floor gets bumped. So let's say that I will animate the floor bumping up in maybe 3 frames, something like this. Maybe at the beginning we'll move slower, and then it will go up, stay up maybe 1 frame, and then come back down. So this is the animation. Super quick animation, in fact, and especially at 30 frames per second, you can hardly see what's going on in there. Maybe I could even make the way up faster. Let's see. Now, you know what? Let's make it the same speed, but we stay up for 1 frame longer. There you go. This could be our animation. Maybe in here I'll be using Unimbot as a twin machine. There you go. There you go. So that's the push from underneath. Maybe I will give it a color so that it's easier to spot as we work. Something like this, I guess. Oh, that's the same color of the frog. It's not going to be good for us. So let's have a look. There you go. This should work. And hi Raja, welcome aboard. I'm animating a character who's supposed to be bumped up by a platform but not lose its balance. It's going to stay there. So let's have a look. Actually, I think I need to move the whole cube up because I want to start from the position in which the platform is under its feet, under the feet of the frog. So that's going to be, yes, that's going to be it. Let me merge these 2 layers and we should be game. Hi Raja, shoot. Let's see which question you have. And this is in fact an occasion for me to have a chat. It's some sort of break from other stuff that I do. So the animation is supposed to start at 427, so I'm going to update my, actually at 428, so I'm going to update my planning so that this is the 428 frame. I'm going to make it green. That means I've updated it. That means that every player in the team, every member of the team of this project will see where the animations start. Raja wants to know about games in the chat, wants to know about games cutscene animation workflow. It's a very wide topic. It depends on what you need to do really. But I'm studying Unreal as we speak. Well, not as we speak, because as we speak I'm actually animating this frog, and I'm actually learning how to do cutscenes in Unreal right now. Normally, however, I can tell you this game is working in Unity. I can tell you that game engines, they usually have a timeline editor, and in that timeline editor you will spawn your characters and apply an animation to them and a camera animation to them. And very, very, very broadly, that's the very beginning of it all. So you need a timeline editor, you need your characters and cameras spawned into it, and you need the FBX animation applied to it. And usually there's a trigger in game for which, when you enter into a collider zone, for instance, you trigger the play of the timeline. I can't be more specific than that because I don't know the context of your question, and also I'm not a great expert in cutscenes on the technical side. So if the frog is pushed up, what we're going to do in here is we are going to push up the master. Eventually the master won't even be exported, but I need to have an indication there of how things move. Then I will mute the master, and we will use the animation coming from the game instead for the master motion. There you go, something like this. I don't know what, 427. There you go. And then after we are up, I think this character is supposed to be heavier than the hero character which is pushing it in the game. So I won't make this character fall down, leave the platform. The character will always be on the platform, which makes me think, why am I even animating this character going up and down when I can, simply speaking, say this is the cube, this cube is the master of the character is the slave, and I can go under constraint, parent constraint, and this way, there you go, it works out of the box, nice. So now I don't really want to see this master around for too long, so what I'm going to do, because otherwise I will select it and I don't really need to animate it, so I'm going to save that selection and store the visibility. I can't set the visibility to off, that sucks. So you know what, I will maybe, can I lock this guy? I can't lock this guy. Oh, what can I do to hide the master? So I have the selection of the master, that's cool. I can go into the render stats and disable primary visibility. Nope. There was a visibility in here that I always forget. There you go, this guy. So under object display I can go in there. I can turn off LOD visibility. In fact, one thing that I can do is I can select this node and see if I can store the visibility in there and then store the visibility there. So let's see if I can trigger that visibility easily. Doesn't care. Well, anyway, I have it selected so I can go back. So I've hidden the master, which is constrained because I'm not going to touch it. So Raja is asking, environment creation rendering is easy in Unreal or Maya? And there are a lot of tutorials online for environment creation in Unreal. Raja, I think after trying it, I can tell you that environment creation and cutscene creation, especially for realistic projects, is a lot easier in Unreal than it is in Maya. And I would have to say that if I had to start a stylized project nowadays, I would probably start with Blender rather than Maya. And Rajai is saying they can hardly find a course in Arnold for Maya, but Arnold for Maya is dead, I think. Ever since Autodesk has acquired it, I think at that stage Arnold was essentially already a goner. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can still do render with it, but I think there are some very specific applications that don't apply for most of us. I wouldn't really invest in Arnold if I were you. So now we're being pushed up, and if we're being pushed up and this frog is rather heavy, I would really like the frog to just crouch down a little bit. So let's see what we can do with this rig. This is going to be tricky, of course, because it's always quite difficult, in my opinion, with a game rig that maybe wasn't designed to squash and stretch. Let's see if I can. It kind of works. It is actually maintaining some of the volume. So one thing that I can do, you see, is as the frog flies up, is being bumped up, I can lower down, maybe I can lower down the knees as well, and just animate a little bit of reaction. There you go, to the push up. Maybe I can even rotate this guy forward a little bit and give it a little bit of a twist. And I can, if the head goes forward, maybe I can delay the eyes a little bit. There you go. So maybe I could even take the buttocks and lower them ever so slightly as well as they fall down. There you go. That could work. Rajai is asking in the meantime in the chat which software is used to render feature animations. It depends. I mean, you would be surprised. To render CG feature films, I've seen people use a bunch of different pieces of software. I mean, from Arnold to Redshift, but I think there are feature films being done in Blender as we speak. It's not that I think of, I'm sure they are. And in Unreal also there will be something being made as we speak. So really the pipeline depends on what you want to do and how you want it to be structured. I don't think there is a given rule. And in general, I don't know, maybe with real time it would be a good idea to look into the real time pipeline. So the frog is being pushed down, so I'm creating an extreme, not so extreme, but I will call it extreme because it's an extreme pose, squashed position, which will be kept until we reach the top. And then after we reach the top, I think we want to have a little bit of reaction and be extended again, especially as we go down. I don't know why in here there is a delay in the way down. Let's have a look and see what's going on in there. Did I accidentally key it? No, it's still... There is a key somewhere in here which is making the character delay. Let's see if it's this guy. No, it's not this guy. Ah, okay, it's Maya not updating the viewport. Wow. So let's have a look. Rajai would really look into Unreal for a rendering pipeline nowadays. If you're planning to do a feature film, if render quality is not your priority, I would look into Unreal. Be aware, of course, you will need technical support. It's not going to happen. One of the advantages of Arnold is that it's pretty easy to use and it has been tested. One of the advantages of Unreal is that it's fast. But Unreal is also relatively untested. It's a video game engine turned renderer for us, at least. So I have an extreme in there. Maybe I can make the eyes a little bit taller and narrower to preserve volume there, so that as the character comes down we have a little bit of a stretch. Maybe I could even rotate them ever so slightly closer to one another. So we would have the compression and then we have the expansion, and really don't want to have this guy around. And then after the cube has settled down, let's give it maybe 1 frame, we go back to the default pose. But what I would really like to do in here is to have a settle down overshooting the pose, and then we actually reach the pose in the end. So I will create 2 poses at the end. I think I want to stretch this guy even further. So let's see the poses. So we push up the cube, and then when we are up at the top of the cube, we have the reaction of the frog coming down. This is the problem of update. Man, this problem of update is really something. And then I would say we can overshoot the pose down, maybe even a bit, in a bit of an extreme way, just being bouncing forward and then coming back. I think maybe this bounce forward is a bit too much, so I'm going to maybe make it a bit less. In the meantime, in the chat, Raja is saying that they are starting at iAnimate, but they still don't know the pipeline after animation. The best way, Raja, to understand the pipeline and see what's good for you in your specific situation is to animate something like you're doing for iAnimate, and then render it out and do some compositing and see which tools you really need. I would suggest you try rendering in Unreal, just because I've been playing with it a little bit these days, and I think it's a good solution for the animator who has no time, like all animators. So let's have a look at this step preview and see. The problem with the step preview is that it's not compatible with some of the old rigs, like this one for instance. So let me use stepped instead. So let's see. So I think I can hold down the pose before the final pose a bit longer. Let's have a look. Yes. And I think it would be cool maybe if there were a bit of variation side to side, because otherwise it will look really dead as an animation. So maybe I can go back to auto, and then maybe I can think about adding a variation of the silhouette, so that if the character is seen like this in game, it won't just move down vertically, but there will also be a curve. So let's, on layer, I'm going to create that curve. So we're going to twist a little bit, so that as the character is being pushed down, so this is the new pose, and this was the earlier pose. You see that the earlier pose is also very symmetric. With a bit of a twist, we start to introduce a little bit more organicity. In fact, there you go. And as we go back up, now we have grounds to counter twist, for instance. So maybe we could counter twist the other way. You see that makes it a lot cooler. And also, again, it gives us ground for when we come back down, to maybe come back down this way. Let's see if that makes sense. Zoop. And then we come back up. And maybe we could do some sort of an arc. So instead of having one breakdown only here, which one key pose in here, we can have 2 key poses or 2 breakdowns, in which maybe one has the character to the most extreme of camera left, and the other one initiates the coming up but following an arc. So we go down here, and as we initiate the coming up, we also start rolling the head to camera right and then come back up. In fact, we could even, now this is getting a bit, we're going to introduce a lot of poses and a lot of keyframes which maybe for the games aren't good enough. So, but let's try it. Maybe I can give it a bit more time to settle so that maybe I can go overshoot in this direction with the rotation and then settle. Let's have a look. You see? Something like this maybe. It's a bit too much, so I will go down. Maybe this rotation here is a bit too much. So let's go find a key, and let's go set a key in here, and then let's reduce the rotation to the right. I wonder if I could also translate this guy a little bit to the left, so that as it comes to the right, there will be a bit of rotation, and then we zero out again. Let's have a look. There you go. So there is a bit of variation in there in the motion, even from the top view, so the character may be seen like this. Let's have a look and see if we can create a better feeling of weight, maybe by keeping the rotation going on the way down. Maybe this rotation at the beginning on the first breakdown is a bit too much, so maybe I can reduce it a little bit. And then we go back up. Maybe I can also anticipate the coming back up. Yes, in here. Let's merge this guy. One of the problems of working with a long time, in my opinion, is that when you merge layers, Maya will have to evaluate the long timeline. If you were in a single brief shot, you'll be much faster when merging. So maybe in here I can just see what happens if I start transitioning on the way up a little bit earlier. There you go. That could work. And as we go down, let's see, maybe we can be a bit faster in the arc down with the head, and then we come back up. Let's have a look. That could work maybe. Hi Izuru, welcome aboard. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Izuru Hathu Suringe. I'm not sure. So there you go. Now we have the reaction. So I'm animating for a game named River Tales the Game. I'm going to paste the link in here. And if you want to upvote the game on the Ask Game Dev Discord server, please follow this invite I'm pasting and go and vote for the game so that we gain some visibility, because we really plan to do a Kickstarter for this thing, or they plan to do a Kickstarter rather. So in here, we have now a nice bouncy action. I maybe want to do a little bit more of an arc. in here it seems to me that I should be going to the right a bit earlier to complete the circle. So maybe to camera right. Maybe I can start going to camera right a little bit earlier, so that as we come back down, the circle from this point of view will be a bit more complete. Maybe I can even exaggerate a little bit in here. There you go. I have the feeling that I can maybe translate a little bit more in here. And in here as well. Let's have a look. Yes. So the idea is that this frog is way too heavy for the character to dislodge. But there will still be a reaction. So it's not impossible to dislodge it. But at this stage, with this action that I am animating, it won't be dislodged. So that's good enough. Let's animate the knees. We have to rush through this thing because we have other animations to do, and I have so many animations to do for this game still, and I can't really spend too much time on a single piece. So as we go down, maybe in here there's a bit too much acceleration on the pull vectors on the way down, so maybe I can delay those, and then as we push up with the cube, I'm going to lower the legs quite a lot. And now in here the locators are coming up way too fast, so I'm going to make them wait down for a much longer time, and then they will come back up later. And then as we hit the bottom down there with the cube, I really want the pull vectors to react again to the hit. And since we are favoring the pose on the left hand side of the screen, I also want the pull vector to favor that pose. And then sort of come back to the right hand side and then center again. Let's see. There you go. Maybe I don't want to see the joints. By the way, I've started streaming. I want to start streaming a series of interviews to animators who moved to Japan, because I want to move to Japan myself at a certain point. They usually are on Sundays. And if you have any questions to ask these people, well, post them in the comments or in the chat in here so that I can ask them. So let's see what happens in here. So we are pushed down, and then I think in here I'm going down too much with the knee without any justification. I think I should be much lower earlier on, and then I should come back up a bit faster, and then I can add a little bit of wiggle on the way down. There you go, something like this. Let's have a look. The one on the right, I'm checking the one on the right, let's see. Not really happy to see all this stuff. Let's see what. I'm not convinced about this motion of the knee, so let's have a look at it again. So we're pushed up faster. We stay down. Maybe we don't need to go down that much. Yes. and then the knee goes up. Maybe one thing that I can do is keep going up with the knee as the body of the character goes down. There you go. Overlap the motion, and then once we hit, we jump down with the knee. Quite quick. Maybe with a faster hit at the beginning, so we hit the floor, the knee pops down, stays down nearly in that position, and then slowly comes up. This should make it feel a bit slower, a bit heavier, and then I can maybe raise the knee a little bit faster, overshoot the extreme pose, and then it would be great to if it settled down. Let's see what happens if we come back a lot faster and a lot closer to the body, and then we open up again. That should give us a nice line. Let's see, a nice motion. There's way too much motion in there. So let's see, we push up with the body. I think in here I can push that up and keep going up. I think that's the problem. So it goes up, and then as we fall down, that's the biggest acceleration for the knee, and as we hit the floor, I think this acceleration is a bit too much, so maybe we can delay it a little bit. And yes, this is way too fast, so I'm going to reduce the movement up. And let's see. No, it's too much. So it was a good idea maybe, but I'm not managing to implement it in the time I have. So I'm going to come back up slower and have one less wiggle. Let's have a look at it from another point of view. Maybe it could work. Now let's have a look at the other one once that we found a solution for one. That is the one. So we push up with the body, down with the knee, and I think in here we can already invert the motion. Yes. And as we fall down, we speed up the motion on the way up, and as we hit the floor, the knees bounce back, stay down, and then adjust. That could work. Let's see. Let's make a play blush just to evaluate the actual speed of this thing. Just because the viewport is fast, but it's dropping frames. So we need to run the animation at 30 frames per second. I'm thinking it's a bit harsh. Let's look at it from the point of view of the game, which is something like this more or less. Maybe I should just leave it up for a bit longer in the extreme pose at the top. So I think the knee is moving too much. Yes, so let's clean up the knee a little bit. I would have thought it would have been easier. So this range of motion of the knee is way too much. So I'm going to grab with a layer, I'm going to grab the extreme, just reduce the extreme quite a lot. Zero out. So we're going to move up a lot less. And as we go back down, we're going to go back down a lot less. There you go. Now let's have a look at this other guy. Similarly, I want to add this to the same layer, and I'm just going to reduce the extreme pose quite a lot to have less wiggle with the knees, both on the way up and on the way down. Nice. Then let's have a look at the motion on the way up. So we have a big jump between 28 and 29, but then as we go between 29 and 30, you see there isn't much motion on the frog. So I think in here this would look cooler if it inherited the motion that the cube had just earlier on. So we compress, and also maybe we don't want to compress this much at the beginning, because the cube is moving really little at the beginning. So I need a reaction from the frog, which is commensurate to the movement of the cube underneath. Of course, I don't know how much this will move in the game, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. There you go. So this could maybe work, because now as we move up with the cube, the frog is not moving that much on the way down. As we push a lot, the frog is being held down quite a lot. And then I think in here I can already rotate it forward a lot more. And then we can finally bump up. And maybe we can bump up quite a lot more. I'm afraid of stretching too much, because the character is not supposed to be super lightweight. So maybe I just want to stretch a little bit. And as we go up, I can delay the rotation, the inversion of the curve, a little bit. I'm adding a lot of keys. That's not a good sign. And then we go back after we hit the floor. Maybe we want to go back down a lot quicker. There you go, and a bit more forward, and then we settle. Let's see. Yes, it could work. Now I probably have to make the eyes a little bit softer, because right now they move one-to-one with the body, so they feel a bit harsh. I also would like to minimize a little bit this motion on the way forward. So maybe again I could put it on a layer, and as I find the extreme on the way forward, I can reduce that extreme a little bit. And zero out, so that we don't move them much forward. And I can do the same maybe on the rotation here, reduce it a little bit. left hand side. There you go. Yes, that's a lot cleaner and a bit more controlled. Yes. So now that I have the general motion and I'm relatively happy with it, and I'm looking at the watch, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's take a look at these eyes. I really wish I put the pivot of these eyes a little bit lower in here. That would have been cool. So maybe one thing that I can do is select both the eyes, create a locator for both of them. These locators I can move down to the desired pivot, say at the base of the eyes. In fact, I can maybe grab an old script named KK controllers and just create a cube per each locator. Oh, I just lost one cube in here. Such a pain. There you go. 1 and 2. I don't know what happened to this guy. So then I can maybe scale them up so that they become a little bit more visible, like so. Or rather, maybe I can scale them up the opposite way. There you go. Freeze their scales. And these two groups I can parent to the head control. Are they frozen? Yeah, they are frozen. So I was saying, these two groups, I can parent them to the head control, and then I can constrain the eye controller to each group, to each additional controller I made. So now, when I rotate these two controllers, I'm rotating them, you see, from their base, which makes a lot more sense and makes it a lot easier to animate. So as I move to, now it's time to counter animate them. In fact, I could use a tool like overlapper maybe to try this one out. There you go. And then as the head is yanked forward, I want the eyes to become staying back. Maybe I will make one eye more delayed than the other. And in fact, I could even control the scale of these guys. So, I have to be careful about the stuff I do in here, because I don't want to accidentally delete animation from the previous part of the animation. So let's have a look. Could not add scale. That's interesting. So this is the master and this is the slave. And I go scale, maintain offset. I can't. Okay, cool. Why though? I don't get it. Let's try this one. No, I can't. Maybe, that's interesting. Well, anyhow, so I'm going to delay the eyes as the head is pushed forward. And then, as the head inverts the direction, I can have the eyes delayed on the way forward a little bit. And since the left eye of the frog was the one that came forward later, it will also be the one who is a bit delayed in there. And on the way back, can zero them out, and this guy will be again the one to land later in their preferred position, so that they won't move together one to one. And then finally we find the last pose, which seems to be 4-4-4. We duplicate the initial pose. Let's see. There you go, so they don't move one to one anymore with the head now. The character will be seen about this small on the screen. There you go. Maybe this is a bit too much motion on the way forward here. For instance, I noticed that sometimes we kind of lose sight of the eyes, so maybe I can just keep the eyes a little bit more visible. And as we move back with the head, I can keep the delay there, and then they can bounce a little bit longer. And maybe as we hit the bottom with the head, we can maybe lower the eyes a little bit and make them a bit more spaced to see what happens. There you go, so that they will join back together later on. There you go. So that could work. Let's have a look at what else we can do in there. I have the feeling this is way too much rotation with the head. Okay, now let's see if we can add maybe a little bit of squash on the eyes. So as the character is pushed down, maybe I can scale up the eyes, or rather squish the eyes a little bit. That automatically implies cheating with their position. There you go. So as the character is pushed up, the eyes squish, and I want to keep the squish for a little bit longer. And then as they reach the top, I want to first round them up, then stretch them out. Maybe put them a little bit closer together. And for as long as the character goes down, I really want to keep that stretched position. I don't know why this guy doesn't want to, doesn't care about the Twin Machine from Animbot. So, and then they will be zeroing out. Let's have a look. They stretch and then they zero it out. Let's have a look if this helps. Yes, it gives them a little bit more of bounciness, so to speak. Let's see how else we can make them softer. I'm almost 1 hour into this, so I think I have to call it an animation and move on to the next one. So maybe I can do one little bit of squash here at the end, so that the last thing that settles will be the eyes. on the way up. Yes, just to make the eyes a little bit soft. I'm not very happy about the knees. In fact, I don't like them at all. What can I do? First of all, let's make sure that these layers at frame 1 of my animation are not changing the previous animation. Merge them down. I think I should have saved before merging them down, so I will save now. And there you go. By the way, the chat is open. If you want to ask questions, you can ask them in English, Spanish or Italian. Hi, I will. Yeah, it's quite a. I mean, in general, I will say it's so cute. In general, characters with big eyes, they tend to be perceived as cute by default. So it's an easy game, I think. I think in here we are stretching a bit too early with this eye, so I'm going to squish it down. In fact, this scale is not correct. There you go. And then it will open up. Yes. Now let's do some facial animation before wrapping up this animation and moving on to the next one, which I really need to. And that's interesting. I have 2 groups for the face animation. That doesn't make any sense. There's something here. There you go. So those are the eyes. So what I want to do in here is perhaps have the pupil react as well. And as the character is being pushed down, I can see what happens if I squish the pupils even more on the way down. I made a rig that lets me do quite a lot of animation on the textures. There you go. And maybe I can grab the eye controllers. It's a good idea to set a default key at the beginning of the animation. So I'll say maybe I can add the eye controllers, and as we squish the pupils, we also squish the eyes down ever so slightly. There you go. So there you go. So we squish also the colors in there, not just the silhouette. That could be cool. And then we keep it squished, maybe in some sort of blink, or in fact shouldn't be starting in that pose, I think. And then as we fall back down, maybe we can delay the pupils. In fact, we can possibly delay them a little bit earlier. It's a bit it has some sort of dreamy expression, I guess. And as we go back as we come back down, maybe we can melt the expression even more to the sides. And maybe you can cheat the position of the eyes ever so slightly and lower it. Not very happy about the shapes so far. There you go. And then we come back up. So this should give a little bit of life even in the eyes, for however short this animation is going to be. I think it's a bit too short for even for us to notice. Maybe it's too much. Also, there's a thing, I would like to have a different pose as a start pose, and that's because the character is meant to be a little bit more, let's say, sleepy, a little bit sleepier. So maybe one thing that I can do in here as a first pose is to select a different sprite. There you go, something like this. I think could work a lot better as a first pose. I have to check what happens on the rest of the timeline, because you see that there is quite a lot going on. So maybe I could select all the facial controls. Oh, the music is too loud, Stony Gaming, sorry. There you go. Is it better? So let's see in here. Oh, where's the character gone? Ah, yes. So the animation starts. Let's check at 428. So at 427. At 426. There you go. Oh, that's interesting. So in here I need to, there you go, to set the pose back of the facial system. So there you go. I wanted the character to start in a pose which is a little bit more sleepy, a little bit sleepier. That looks interesting to me. And maybe I want to also be able to see a little bit of the, I'm not sure if I want to really, let's see if I show the hotspot on the pupil. Yeah, I think if I show the hotspot of the pupil, the character is going to be looking a little bit better. Yeah, I think so. And there you go. Now, this means probably changing the pupil as the character is being pushed up, reacts, and then falls back down. There is, I don't want the character really to react in any way in terms of facial expressions, so I think I can maybe keep this sleepy expression for a bit longer. There you go. Let's have a look and see. Yeah, I think this looks a bit more like the character I wanted. Doesn't really care about what's going on. It's just being pushed, bumped upon. There you go. Yes, this could work, I think, for the game. Then, as usual, one has to see in games if this makes any sense. As I was saying, I'm not very happy about the knees. So, as the character is being pushed up, the knee goes down, stays down. Then I want the knee to go back up. I'm not sure if it's a Maya viewport issue. Let's have a look at it. Let's make a playblast from the point of view of the game, just to see whether it's my issue or it is a Maya issue. So we are playing at 30 frames. Yeah, there's a double, the body is actually okay, but there's a double hit with the knee that I don't like. So let's sort that out before moving on to the next one. So we have on the way down, we have quite a lot of knee bump in there. You know what, I will just delete all this stuff and I will start over with the knee, because I'm not convinced. So at the beginning, no motion. Then here we move so much on the way up that maybe I can afford to move the knee down quite a lot. And then as we reach the top, could maybe move the knee up as well. As we come back down, the knee will keep moving up. There you go. And once we reach the bottom, the knee will gently come back into place, and then I guess settle. Let's have a look. I'm still not happy about that. Let's see what happens if I move it closer here to the body. The funny thing is that I think I'm wasting my time because I should really be seeing this in game. So at the beginning we want to go down a lot faster. Yes. And settle. Cool. So let's have a look. Let's also fix its right knee, removing everything. There you go, gone. And then as we go back down, as we fly back up, the knee is pushed down, and once we reach the top, the knee comes back up. And then as we reach the bottom, the knee starts moving down, stays down a little bit, and settles. Now let's have a look at the play blast one last time. There you go. Yes, that's a lot better, a lot gentler. There you go. So nobody moves this guy. You push him from underneath, but the guy doesn't move really. I wonder if I could add a little bit of delay with the root motion. So just pushing down the character a little bit. And just for a couple of frames, maybe on the way up, leave the floor. Ever so slightly, and then crunch back down. Let's see if this adds anything to the story. Yeah, a little bit. So you have the hope that it could be dislodged. I think that could work. I forgot to animate the buttocks. So the buttocks were going down. And then as we move back up, I really want the buttocks to move back up. There you go. And after we hit the floor, that will bounce down lower and lower and settle. I will make them settle a little bit faster. So there you go. So there's a little bit of a, you see, a little bit of a bounce with the buttocks. They move at a bit of a different pace. Cool. So this is the bump animation from underneath for this frog. Now let's save it. In fact, this is something that could have been done entirely, I think, with an overlapper tool or with ragdoll, for instance. There you go. So let's check that we are not... Oh, there is a difference in scaling in this eye. So let's make sure that we go back to the scaling we had in the first position. That's cool. And there you go. Let's save, let's merge, and let's move on to the new animation. By the way, I've started a streaming series about working in animation in Japan. I want to interview people who work in Japan in the CG industry, and I want to see how's life over there, and whether they like it or not. So usually those kind of streams happen on Sundays at around 12 p.m. UTC. If you want to have some sort of taster, you can check out the last stream about Japan in here. And if you like it, please share it, because if I get more people to watch it, then I can call more and more professionals to talk for us and to be interviewed. There you go. So that's sorted. We have our animation, and let's key everything there for double safety. There you go. Now this ends at 444, so I want to make sure that the schedule reflects that, so that whoever is assembling the animation, whether me or anybody else, there you go, they have this time and they don't have to ask me. So 428 to 444, that's cool. Now there is another animation I have to do. This time around the frog needs to be hit by something, and it needs to be waving around. I was talking about it at the beginning of the animation. A bit like in Mortal Kombat, when a character is waiting a fatality, they're not in control, as if they were a bit drunk. So I will start another piece of animation. This time the animation will start at 445, I guess. Now let's set a key on everything at 443, just in case I change the tangents at 444. And also, I think these two eyes do not need to be constrained on frame 427. There you go. Yes. Okay, cool. So now everything is under control, and the next animation will start at 445, and it's a character being hit by something and then going into some sort of state, uncontrolled state. Now the interesting thing about being hit by something in a game is that you don't know in which direction this something will come at you. So that would be an interesting thing to ask the developer. I think I have to ask them, but I can already make them. Maybe how can we do it so that it works a bit in every. Maybe I can make a hit animation that is not directional but goes from up to down, so that would work from any object hitting the character. So let's do it. So as a hit, I think I will start from an idle pose, then I will go down into some sort of anticipation in which we squish the eyes. One thing that, if you observe yourself, one thing that you do whenever something approaches really quickly is that you blink, right? You close your eyes to protect them. So I think I want to do the same in here with this dude. And I want to blink, so I will call in the UI and I will go into 444. I think I need to set up a key for the whole animation system at 444, and then at 447 I want to have a sprite that lets me blink, and I think I have one down here somewhere. There you go, this guy here seems to be the guy. Then I will rotate the lines of the sprite a little bit better so that they're a bit more heading towards the center of the nose. For the one cheat that I'm using with this rig for the rig is to just scale up the pupils until they cover the white of the eye entirely. There you go. And I will do the same in here with this dude. There you go. So that's a blink right there. Maybe I want to store these as face controls for the frog. So we start from a default pose. Then I want to make an anticipation pose of some sort where we squish down the frog quite a lot. I'm thinking maybe I could add something to this anticipation if I made the legs a little bit longer just for this pose. Let's see what happens if I increase the length. They're moving in the wrong direction, I guess. But maybe, who knows. Let's see. Yeah, I think it could work. And also I will need to change the facial expression in there. So maybe I can grab this one. That could work. Or let's see. I think I will use this one as a mouth expression. Ooh, I see a bug in here. This doesn't look like the latest version of the rig really. Let me have a look. Well, you know what, I will look at it at the back later and I will just make a mental note for it. So the frog was happy, it's been hit by something. It compresses. Maybe I can also dig it deeper into its platform. And the buttocks could be maybe moving to the side and squish just like the character. There you go, something like this will maybe work. Maybe lose a bit of volume in depth. There you go, and that's going to be my hit pose. I can't really give it any directionality because I don't know where the projectile will come from, so that's going to be a problem. And I don't think we can foresee that in game. We don't have the technology to do that. So there you go. It's being hit. And then it will be... I think I want to get to the hit pose with the face a little bit faster than just in these many frames. There you go. Something like this will probably work. Maybe in just... I can get there in just 2 frames. Get there a bit faster. There you go. And then maybe change even. There you go, something like this. And then maybe I can stay down, say 2-3 frames as I appreciate the fact that I've been hit, and twist something like this. And then as I come up, maybe I can start coming up from the default to the default pose. And I think I want to come back to the previous facial expression, the T-pose. This guy in here as a beginning thing. And I use this pose as a standard pose, and then, however, I want the character to wave quite a lot as if they were drunk. So they will come back up, and I want them to do a circle with the head somehow. So I will need this pose, and then I will need an extreme pose in the opposite direction. And then I will need breakdowns to make this frog do a circle. I don't really know how long in the game this guy will be stunned, so it's probably a good idea. Hi Shub. It's probably a good idea to have it stay there in a loop. So I can do a loop of stunned animation, and then it will be the developers who will decide how long they want to keep it. So it's hit. And then as it comes up, I maybe want to come up here and just do a circle. There you go. And as we go to the opposite direction, I want to always delay the head as if the guy was drunk. And then I need a breakdown to complete the circle there. And then I need to go back to the loop, which was this guy here, this pose at 455. Okay, so something like this. So 455 is the loop, and I can already see my poor planning of the pose. So the character is, by the way, thank you very much for joining me tonight. If you like this kind of stream, please share it so that I can do more. So the character is waving around as if they were drunk. Boo. This inversion, it's a bit too much. I think I will need more frames to make this work. So let's have a look and see. Okay, so it's sort of okay. I'm looking at the animation from the distance because in game it will be seen from the distance. So I alternate close-ups and distance shot, because it doesn't really make too much sense sometimes to go in there and check every single pixel if the character is never going to be seen from that angle. So we go there. Maybe I could leave a little bit of a moving hold in this area before it starts changing direction. And then in here, let's see how the loops starts again. I think I will need some more breakdowns. So it starts waving to camera left, then changes direction. Maybe I can help a little bit with the head. This, maybe I don't need to check the rotation here, or maybe I do. And then in here I think I need to exaggerate the arc towards the right. And as I come back up, I think I need to delay a little bit the rotation of the head. And then we start all over. There you go. And here the problem is that I should be falling over with the head. Let's have a look. So yes, that's the kind of motion that I want to have, more or less. It's a bit too broad. So, but in general, I think we are getting there. So In here the problem is that I spend a lot of time with the head at the same rotation here where nothing else happens, so maybe I can delay that falling down forward. Whoop. And I can keep moving forward. There you go. Okay, so this is more or less the animation I want. But it's a bit too much. And I wonder if I shouldn't be doing something a bit more creative there. So let's start by making it slower a little bit and see if that makes it look a little bit more acceptable. Not very happy about it right now. So 479. That could work maybe. Let me try it. Maybe instead of going down that much forward, I can keep it as a side-to-side action. So let's try that. Let's see. I will use a layer so that I don't waste work. So instead of going that far forward, I'm going to keep it a lot more as a side-to-side motion. And then we go back to the 0. Yeah, I think that's that could work. Now let's give it a facial expression just to understand if we have a problem with the body or if we have a problem with the facial expression. So we have the guys being hit and it goes into a loop, and during the loop I want the expression to feel a little bit lost. And I wonder if well, maybe just by moving the pupils close to one another and make the dude look a bit cross-eyed. There you go. But it looks a bit too smarty and I don't want it to look smart. I want it to look a little bit more lost, so I have to make do with the expressions I already have. Oh, this one. I think this one could work. There you go. Yeah, I think it could work. I'm just going to rotate it. There you go. And maybe I could try and see what happens. If I scale up the pupils, how does it look like? Does it look less in control? It looks a bit stoned, I have to say. So maybe I can scale it down, make it even smaller, and maybe I can make one a lot bigger than the other, and go towards a cross-eyed pose. Yeah, I think something like this could work. It's not excellent, but it gives me an idea anyway of the state of where the character could be right now psychologically. So it will open up. I really want to keep that blink for a little bit longer, and then in fact for a lot longer. And then as it comes up, it opens the eyes. One thing I could do maybe is to have the eyes roll around as well. So maybe as they open up, it could be a bit lower, then they can come back up. Now let's see what happens if I rotate the eye. That's interesting, right? Maybe I could try that. So as we go back up, this was not an intended feature, but rather a shortcoming of my math skills. So I could go, as I come back up, there you go, yes. Let me check where the loop is starting. So the loop starts at 455 to 479, 5579. So maybe we'll start the roll at 455 instead of earlier. So 455, and then there you go. So now as I come back up, there you go, I start going into a roll in there. Which I can maybe control. There you go, let's see if this makes any sense. Yeah, that could work. As a general idea anyway. And then for the other eye, same thing. Come back up. We reach a position at 455. And I think we can maybe roll in the negatives. Oh no, we have to go in the positives, so I can just add 360 here. There you go. And in theory, there you go, it's a bit stunned. And the eyes should give it away, hopefully. So that should be sorted for the time being. Now let's go back to the loop. And it's time to wrap up already. I didn't manage to finish this, which is a shame because I was quite happy to have it. And you see, earlier on I wasn't quite sure whether this animation could have worked, but I think it can be working. So maybe I can, as we go forward, I can delay the eyes. I think I'll need to use my additional controllers in here. I can delay the eyes backward a little bit so that the eyes will always be visible during the animation. And only as we go back down, say here, I can move them forward a little bit, but otherwise I want them pretty much to be visible for the whole duration of the game animation, of the game loop. Whoop. There you go. Now let's have a look. Yes. I think there may be a bit too much action going on in there, so maybe I can soften the thing. A bit crossed that the legs aren't reacting to the motion. They should be. So maybe as I go into my loop, I can add a little bit of pelvis motion there, so the legs will be moving a little bit. I wonder if, now I'm looking at it, and I wonder if I could make it so that the eyes, the pupils are bouncing into the white of the eye, as opposed to just rotate around. Let's see. So maybe I could delay the rotation as we go to camera left. And then as we hit the limit, we accelerate to the side. And then again, we maybe decelerate a little bit. Yes, and then as we hit the other limit on camera right, we delay a little bit and then we suddenly accelerate there. Hopefully this should... You see that now it feels almost as if the eye is some sort of rolling thing into the white of the eye. The problem is that we have the white spot moving all over, so I will have to do something about that maybe. So the right eye is quite cool as a general behavior. The problem is that it doesn't quite feel like it's rolling, so I will make sure it rolls a little bit better. And it follows an arc a little bit better. There you go. I want to do the same for the opposite eye. So after, maybe I could leave it up a bit more, and then then I delay the fall down of the eye. And then it accelerates quite a lot on the way down. There you go, but not so much as to disappear. Maybe I can have a better arc here, so closer to the edge. There you go. Hopefully this will work. There you go, this could possibly work. It's going to be about this big on screen, I think, in game. I think I will want to have a facial expression that is a bit more telling in the mouth of what's going to happen. So in here, I don't want to swap back. There you go. And there you go. And in this animation, the frog has been hit by something, and it's essentially waiting for the character to take an action before it will go back to an idle. Before the frog will go back to an idle. So hopefully the player will get it. Let's see. I'm not very convinced about the motion of the eye on the left socket of the character, so maybe we'll make one last play blast before saying goodnight. With a small camera so that I'm mimicking a bit better the viewport of the game. Yeah, I feel like the right and the left socket is not reacting to the motion that well. Well, in general, both of them aren't. So I think that will need a bit more love. And in general, I feel like the arc of this character is a bit unclear. So let's have a look at the arc, maybe from the top view. Thanks, Shub. So you see that from the top view the arc could be improved, especially as we start the loop. We almost go entirely horizontally there. So maybe I can just push it in world space a bit more to the back at the beginning of the loop. And left. You see, you can barely see it, but there's a motion path in there that I can track. That I am tracking, in fact. And then in here we have quite an extreme curve. There you go. Now let's have a look at it from the top. There you go. That's a lot more archy. Ooh, okay, cool. In general, I feel like, however, we should stay a bit more towards the back of the character, because it spends a lot of time with the eyes being disconnected from the audience, and I don't really want that. I really want the character eyes and face to be a bit more visible. So maybe I could dump all these controls on a layer and just roll them up. So I think the hit animation, this is where it starts, and this is where the loop starts. So maybe on 455 I could try the Visa pose that is a bit more back facing. So just move the root. In fact, I can just move the root. What am I doing? I can just move the root to the back, so that the character will spend most of its time, you see, facing the top. Yeah. I think that's a good call. And let me check what's the length for this action. So the action hits down, I didn't write it, starts at 445, so starts about here. 444, we should have the idle, yes. So 445, and it goes up to 455, and it stays around until the loop ends, which is 479. It should be, let's have a look. 479, 455, not quite the same. What's going on? Let's duplicate that pose. 455, 479, yes. So let's have one last look at the loop. The point of view of the game is more or less this one, and the character has been stunned. It's waiting for the player to do something. It's a bit harsh as a loop. I think I could maybe soften a little bit of the arc, and also the eyes, I think I can make them sway left and right, but I will do that offline because it's time and it's getting late. So thank you very much for joining me today. It was fun, at least on my side. I hope I didn't bore you too much. And again, if you like this video, this kind of video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And in general, I think what really would help me make more is if you shared the links. So this game is River Tales. It's a game I'm working on for these people at River Tales the game. I'm going to post the link in the chat. There is a contest right now in the Discord channel named Ask Game Dev, in which this game has been shortlisted. So if you go there to the link I've given and you upvote that project, then we can see more of this project around, which would be great because I get to do more animation and more videos, which is what I really want to do. So that's cool. And again, as I said earlier on, I'm making a series about working in Japan as a CG artist. So if you're interested in more of that, I really suggest you check it out. We interview people who moved to Japan to work, and I'm going to again post the link to that in the chat. I think the chat is broken. Oh, there you go. It's there, it is working. So this is the link to the latest stream we've made from Japan. This is the link to upvote the game on Discord so that we get to produce more of this. And remember, if you like this, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and share the link. Sharing the link will really help. Again, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I will see you next time. Remember, I stream every Thursday at 5 p.m. UTC, and when something special happens, usually when I find someone from Japan, we also stream on Sundays usually at 1 or 2 p.m. UTC. Have a good night. Bye bye.